There is one question later generations often ask about the past. How could our ancestors fall for this? For example, a lot of people in the Western world ask themselves how it could have happened that in Nazi Germany the German public fell so easily for Adolf Hitler. This wasn't just Nazi Germany, it was also outside of Germany or the Deutsches Reich that this was going on. Or maybe it's not Hitler, maybe it's Stalin or Mao Zedong or anyone who afflicted mass harm on their own public. Truth being told, no human being, no matter how evil they are, have the capacity nor ability to cause mass harm to the masses. There must be collaborators amongst the masses, and the masses themselves must enable their own victimization for it to work. So let's say you have another figure similar to Adolf Hitler rising up, but he has no collaborators and there is no collaboration from the public that he wishes to victimize. Then he can't do it. Look, let me give you an example. Let's say a young woman is riding a bicycle and suddenly this guy jumps out of the bushes and pulls her off her bicycle and rapes her. This is a sudden incident. Okay? In this case, there's no blame that can be put on her at all. If, however, this same man approached her, love bombed her, and tricked her into a sexual relationship, and she got involved with the man, she invested in the man, she invested in that thing they were having together, and now he ends up escalating on her. In this case, there were red flags and there were warning signals. She just didn't notice them, either due to lack of knowledge or because she didn't want to see them. So whether she was aware of it or not, she ended up collaborating with the same situation that harmed her. Now, it doesn't mean that she got what she deserved because she should have known better. No. She should have not been taken advantage of by that man. However, this long-term victimization could have only happened if there was some collaboration from her. So I'm not saying that she is self-destructive and wants to harm herself. No, I'm not saying that. However, somewhere there was some lack in her attitude that prevented her from walking away. So long-term victimization requires involvement from the victims. Unless you're kidnapped and put in a dungeon with chains and they torture you for a few months physically, unless that's the case, long-term victimization requires involvement from the one being victimized on the long term. Now, you may ask yourself, Rashid, what are you heading with this? Okay, let me explain to you. The public doesn't want solutions. They want to escape. The public is not interested in things becoming better. Better to the public means simply getting away from the bad or being left alone. The public doesn't want to look into the mirror and face themselves and one another. That is so painful. They just want someone to blame, and then they want some relief to happen to them so they can forget about the discomfort of the past. That's how the public is. So the public, being self-destructive as they are, they will never voluntarily admire nor praise anyone who comes with the real long-term solutions. They will not, because long-term solutions require long-term dedication and long-term loyalty from the public in the better that you're offering them. A quick fix you can just do to people. You can just give them a quick fix and they just take it. But long-term solutions that will lead to long-term beneficial outcomes require long-term loyalty and long-term dedication from that same public. And the public, 99 out of 100 times, is not interested in any long-term dedication. They just want to hear that they were victimized, by things going wrong in their environment, and the public are upset and something needs to be done about it. For example, let's say that there is a lot of gang violence somewhere in an area. Now they want some minister in government or some police chief to come and deal with the crime. But here's the thing, let's say there are 50 gangs active in an area, 50. And together that's 9,000 gang members, okay? So, if the public has its way, those 9,000 gang members all have to be arrested. Now you need police power to do that. So you need thousands of police officers to arrest them. You need to keep them in jail, and then they need to go to trial. Then they need to be sentenced, and then you need to have a prison to house them in for X amount of years. All of that's going to be costly. But let's say now that apart from those 9,000 gang members, there are also 3,000 sex offenders roaming around. But let's say now that the prison capacity over there is just 8,000. So you have 9,000 gang members who, by the way, they don't harm the public. They just have gang fights with one another. And once in a while there's collateral damage. So you have 9,000 gang members. You also have 3,000 sex offenders. But then you have 30,000 shoplifters. So 30,000 shoplifters plus 9,000 gang members, 39,000, plus 3,000 sex offenders is 42,000 criminals. But let's say the capacity there is only 8,000, the prison capacity. Or let's say the prison capacity is 10,000. You have 42,000 criminals, and you only have place for 10,000 people. So at some point you need to make a decision, which crimes have a priority. If you say that sex offenses have a priority, okay, but then people see a lot of gang bangers in the streets all the time. They get upset thinking, what's the police doing? Or if the police decides to lock up all the gang members, then the gang violence is gone. But because that space is gone, now you may have other crime coming in its place because the public isn't better off. So if you focus on getting the gang members, now the sex offenders are on the loose. Or if you say that you want to focus on shoplifters, now you have shoplifters locked up, but now you have sex offenders in the streets all the time. So, truth being told, no human organization has the capacity to shut down every wrong that goes on. The police can't do it, nor can the courthouse or the prisons do it. So they have to make choices, but the public doesn't want to hear it. The public just wants them to find a way to give them ease. So the public has unreasonable and unrealistic demands. But if you tell the public that their demands are unrealistic and unreasonable, they turn on you. They just want to hear that they're bothered and you will do the job for them. So the public is looking for a hitman, looking for a hitman to do the dirty job for them. That's it. The public just wants to victimize a group of people to get relief. The public wants to ventilate their unrest on the scapegoats, but they will not go out there harming the scapegoats themselves because they don't want the backfire to happen to them. They want a group of people, maybe the police or the politicians, whoever they are, to do the dirty job for them. That's how it is. The public doesn't want to hear that they are responsible and accountable for the quality and condition of their communities. They don't want to hear that. So, that is why society will, or let me say the world will always praise sociopaths. Because think about it. Do you invite a hitman to your birthday party? No. Do you invite a hitman to your wedding? Do you invite a hitman to your house to chill with one another? No. A hitman, you only deal with them to do the dirty job for you, to get someone killed, to get someone out of the way. Then you give them the cash and then they're gone. A hitman is treated the same way as a prostitute. You don't invite a prostitute to your house and build a life with her, because that would make her a wife. No, you don't want a wife, you just want someone to relieve yourself sexually upon. And in exchange, to prevent her from coming after you, gave her some cash just to tell her to F off and leave me alone. Well, politicians in general, as well as a lot of those public figures with high position in society, are similar to prostitutes. The public only puts up with them because somewhere they serve the escapism of the masses. That's it. That is why the public will never endorse any true believer in office. They will not. If you ever hear that there's a believer that the masses are praising, this is because that believer is either stuck in church, so he or she is compromised, or that believer is a fake believer. They're just a warlock pretending to be a believer, whatever. No true believer that walks in the resurrection power of Christ will ever be endorsed by the masses. It will never happen. They will tolerate that believer being there if the believers took over a certain sector of the community, but they will never endorse them nor side with them. They will not. The only quote-unquote good people the mass will endorse are folks they can sabotage and victimize. If the public cannot sabotage or victimize you, they will not endorse you. Or let me say it differently, if they can't fire you, they won't hire you. As simple as that. They want to be the ones making you so they can feel entitled to break you. If they can't feel entitled to break you, they don't want you around. That's the narcissism of the masses. That's how fallen mankind operates. Always want to escape, and when they can't escape, which you know they can't always do, they want to ventilate this unrest on selected victims. And those victims are selected because they can't fight back. They want to have people who are weak, who can't fight back, so they can ventilate the unrest upon, so they are at ease. That's how worldlings are. That's what society is designed to do. Society is a fear construct designed to relieve the masses of their unrest. That's it. So society, as a fear construct, will never endorse you unless you're walking in fear. You must be operating in fear, or let's say walk in fear, for them to endorse you. Because when you are in fear, the fear of the masses can affect you. If you walk in faith, you overrule the fear of the masses. Now the masses cannot sabotage you nor counsel you. If they can't counsel you, they won't apply you. That's how simple it is. If they can't counsel you, they won't apply you. As simple as that. So if they can't fire you, they won't hire you. Now you understand why the public chose Barabbas and not Jesus. Barabbas was a robber and a murderer. Barabbas was, as we would say, an Uncle Tom in Afro-American slang. He was a faker who wanted to stand up for his people, but took advantage of his own people. He was a sociopath. They preferred the sociopath who betrayed them and set them up. They preferred him than to have Jesus. It goes even further. They even emphasized that they want to see Jesus crucified. They insisted they want to see Jesus die, so they would be rid of him. But this sociopath, Barabbas, they cried, "Let Barabbas free. We'll put up with him." Why were they willing to put up with a sociopath? The thing is, even the Roman governor Pilate was shocked. Even the Roman soldier thinking, what the heck is this? It is because they feel entitled to victimize. That's how the mass are. They want someone to victimize. And you can get away victimizing a sociopath. Why? Because he's a sociopath. Or she's a sociopath. They're a reprobate. And because they're reprobate, they bring forth pollution. And you can use this against them. But what did they have on Jesus they could use against him to sabotage him? Nothing. And that's what obsessed them. Or it's even worse. Jesus even had a dominant impact in the community. And Jesus' dominant impact revealed the neglect of the masses. And as I mentioned before, the masses don't want to face themselves. So that's why, at the end of the day, they just want to take advantage of Jesus and then cast him away. The thing is, they can always cast away a sociopath anytime. That's why they will put up with a sociopath. But with Jesus, they will never want to put up with him. That's how the world is. Jesus told us, if the world hates you, remember it has hated me first. Jesus said, a slave is not above his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you too. Christ told us that. Christ also told us, in the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. As simple as that. Jesus even said, those who want to follow me, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. Christ made it plain what we're dealing with. But even before Christ came to the earth, look what happened with David and Saul. Saul was a coward. He was fearful. He was a sociopath, as I already said. When God told Saul to destroy the Amalekites, he didn't do it because he wanted to keep the goodies to himself. So by doing that, he endangered the Israelites. Saul endangered his own people. It's Saul's neglect that led to the existence of Goliath. And the situation of Goliath also harmed the Israelites, his own people. So Saul endangered his own people. David was just a 7-year-old teenager who walked by faith and dealt with what Saul failed to deal with. But look at this. Why didn't the Israelites discard Saul? Saul was demon-possessed. He was fearful. He was out of his mind, and he was a failure in dealing with the safety and the long-term prosperity of the Israelites. Why didn't they consult Saul? It is because Saul was the one they hide behind. Because think about it. If there is, for example, an increase in child trafficking amongst Israelites, Saul will hear about it and go out to catch the perpetrators and to hang them. Then everyone has ease. But David would look at it and say, hold on a minute. How come there's many children trafficked around here and none of you guys are aware of it? What's going on here? David would address the situation, and David would do the will of the Heavenly Father in holding the public accountable. Yes, he will catch the perpetrators, but he will put sanctions on the public too. And the public doesn't want that. The public just wants to hear that they're bothered. Please come and rescue us from this discomfort so that we can be left alone. Oh, and after you do that, please back up too because we want to continue. That's the public. They want to be excused in their narcissism. That's the public. So, David had a lot of issues. David made blunder after blunder. It was only Bathsheba that was a blunder of David. David made many blunders in his life. By the way, I already explained the situation of David and Bathsheba. Bathsheba was a witch who, together with her family, wanted to invade the royal family just so that they could have political impact on Israel. And she wanted to get rid of her husband, who was a general, just to get with David. And the general, in this case Uriah, there were issues with him too. But this thing, David fell for Bathsheba's bullshit, and he shouldn't have fallen for it. But Bathsheba was not the only error David made. David made blunder after blunder. Nevertheless, he was someone who was teachable. Look, David, you could have told them, David, come on, man. You're a man of God, you shouldn't do that. If you wanted to correct David, he wouldn't tell you, hey, shut your mouth, and I've allowed you to speak. I'm king over here, you hear me? I'm above you. Show some respect. Don't talk unless you're spoken to. David didn't have this attitude. David was humble and willing to be corrected. Saul was a genocidal maniac. He later committed genocide on the minorities in Israel. He endangered everyone. Yet the public they were in love with Saul. Why? Because Saul was doing the dirty job for them. Saul was making sure they could escape. When David took the throne, by the way, Saul put himself in harm's way together with Jonathan, and he ended up dying. Once this happened, David took the throne. When David took the throne, there was a whole civil war of 8 years before David was recognized throughout all the tribes of Israel. And even then, there was a big portion of the population who wanted David gone. I'm telling you, the masses will praise a sociopath because a sociopath is the one they can use to relieve themselves. The sociopath is a community whore that the public uses to relieve themselves. But meanwhile, they give all types of rewards, financial and sexual rewards to the sociopaths. Now you know why worldwide you have those sociopaths that are guilty of sex crimes and they earn a lot of money. It's the public that endorses them and in such a way that they're crowned with financial ease and easy sexual access. It's the public that does this. But when the scandals come out, now the public doesn't want things to look bad on them. Now they will quickly counsel the sociopath just to make themselves look good. But it was the public all along that was in on it. Think about Herod. King Herod, the first King Herod, there were multiple kings called Herod. The first King Herod was a sellout who was not beloved by the Judean population. Then when Herod died, his sons took over. Again, they preferred Herod, the Herodians, above the apostles of Jesus Christ. Why? Because the Herodians, man, they were messed up, but they were giving financial ease to the public, and they were excusing the public. The apostles of Christ, no, they were dealing with stuff. So it's clear, the public will put up with sociopaths. Even if they're suffering under the tyranny of the sociopaths, they will put up with them. They will even submit to genocide and deny what goes on just so that they can be quote unquote left alone. This psychological comfort is all worldlings are in on. Look at Job in the Old Testament, how everyone turned on him. I'm telling you, when you are a believer doing the will of the Heavenly Father, do not expect to be endorsed. That's something we need to learn. You will not be endorsed. Now, there will be some people endorsing you for practical things. There will be a few unbelievers out there that will endorse you because they see how anointed you are. But the rule is you will not be endorsed. So learn from this. Anytime you see anyone out there with some public success and they've remained for a while, ask yourself what it is the public has on them. I'm not saying that everyone out there with public success is a sociopath or as the Bible says, a reprobate. No. But the fact they're there and the masses are not devouring them, it is because they're following the script. They know full well that they're nothing but the community hordes that make the public at ease. That's what they are. And they act accordingly. The moment they step out of line and show any type of self-worth, they're reminded what their role is. That's how it is. So, do not think it's strange when you are overlooked or when you are discarded by people even though you had a positive contribution. It is because most of the time people just want to take advantage of anything positive, but they want to be positive themselves. And being with people who are positive minded is going to expose their lack. They don't want to hear about that. So they want someone that's messed up or even worse than they are so that they can always have a moral upper hand above the other individual. That's what people want. So, Jesus said, if they called the head of the household Beelzebub, how much you will call the housemates? So it's quite clear. When you follow Christ, the world will retaliate against you. Jesus was not beloved. Go to the Old Testament. The prophets of old were not beloved. King David was a prophet and a king. He was far from beloved. Solomon was beloved because he walked in darkness. That's why. He rejected the knowledge that God gave to him and went after all those idols, having over 1,000 wives and all that crap. Look, anyone, both in the Old and New Testament, who had a public impact in doing the will of the Father, they were all hated. The public held grudges against them. In the case of David, those grudges led to David dying in a mentally ill state. For years, David couldn't even rule Israel. It was one of his sons who had to take over as a regent. So don't think it's something strange if you see narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths growing old and being maintained in those nursing homes, but then you hear about believers who died before their time due to diseases. Why? Because often those believers were not fully delivered and the public took advantage of them. They also say in the world the good die young. Why? Because the world doesn't want the good to remain alive. Because the longer the good remain alive, the good will expose the neglect of the crowd, and the crowd doesn't want to be charged. That's why warfare is such an obsession for many people. Not for everyone, but for a lot of people. Because in war, young men are sent to die on the battlefield. Many of those young men are men who have a good heart. The only reason they signed up for the military because they thought this is a necessary evil we need to do to help the community. They were tricked into it. So a lot of those men with good hearts, they die on the battlefield, and a lot of the neglectful men are left behind and they father children, and that's how it goes. So, just to be clear over here, the good die young is a phrase in the world because the world wants the good to disappear. They want good folks to be around once in a while because they want to be built out, but they don't value good people. They don't. If they did, they would never put up with those sociopaths. So, if you encounter a group of people that puts up with abusers, I'm telling you, take a step back, excuse yourself politely, and get out of that situation. There's no way you're going to change those people. If you address their neglect openly to their face, they will lynch you. Or if they can't succeed and lynch you, they will haunt you for the rest of your life. They will haunt you, your children, and everyone around you. They will make life hard on you as revenge for calling them out. So, keep walking by faith and do not let those creeps in the world sabotage you into endorsing them. Agree with Christ, and I'll see you next time.